What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the All We Do Is Talk podcast. My name is Eric O'Brien. I'm here with my day ones, Isaiah Harris and Nathaniel Moody. What's going
How's
on?
it going?
How y'all doing today out there?
So we're going over the NFC South with the reigning champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the quarterbackless New Orleans Saints, and the Atlanta Falcons, and also my Carolina Panthers. So we're going to start off with the number one team in the NFL, Buccaneers. Isaiah?
Tampa Bay, won the Super Bowl. Got everybody's golden boy Tom Brady leading the way, and as we know, they were able to bring back the crew.
Everybody. All 22 starters.
22 starters. How they did it?
The GOAT effect.
It is the GOAT effect.
They got everybody to take a pay cut. And they got some good prices here. Shaq Barrett, 4 for $68. Wow.
Yeah, that's robbery.
They got their kicker back. He was probably the most overpaid player, 3 for $12.
Sheesh.
Sue came back, $1 million, 1 year, $9 million deal. That's a good price. Gronk, he said he might retire, might go play somewhere else, got a little pay raise, got his $8 million 1 year deal. Leonard Fournette's got not much value, so he had no problem taking his 1 year, $3 million deal. AV's pretty toxic as well, so he wasn't going anywhere else. So another 1 year, $3 million deal. They did bring in Ross Crockwell, former Giant, former Panther, journeyman, cornerback, pretty good player. He's a solid rotational backup cornerback. That's a good pickup. If they lose a guy, they got some young guys who have some injury history, so if they lose a guy, that would be a good guy to have. They also brought in Giovanni Bernard. That would be a good change of pace back. I don't know where he'll fit in with Fournette and Rojo.
He's going to be Vereen. Deion Lewis, other great
Danny Woodhead.
other Rex Burkhead, other small pass-catching backs up the backfield.
And unfortunately, they had to tag Godwin, so, that'll get him back for this year. I don't know if that'll keep him around for next year.
Their window is the next 2 years.
So, for agency, I get A++.
Yeah.
They
brought everyone back.
It's scary how well they pulled off the offseason.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Just looking at it again, I haven't thought about it in a while. But
the clear favorite in the NFC.
Yeah.
Definitely the favorite in the NFC South for sure. Clear favorite in the NFC, favorite to repeat. That's what the Tampa Bay Bucs are right now. Isn't
that usually when Tom doesn't win the Super Bowl is when he's by far the favorite?
Tom win the Super Bowl whenever, bro. Like, he's got 7 of them. Yeah. You can always see Tom Brady / the New England Patriots winning the Super Bowl because that's the way it's been his whole career.
Yeah.
He's never not been a Super Bowl contender.
And draft-wise, I don't love their draft, but when you're picking 32, you tend to start throwing away draft picks is how I've seen most of as we saw with the Kansas City Chiefs last year. Usually that 32 pick, if you don't trade it, you're going to probably toss it away you're going to use it as a luxury pick. And Joe Tyron at the edge, he's raw. He'll learn from some guys like Sue, JPP, Shaq Barrett. That's going to be helpful for his development. He wasn't my favorite prospect coming out. Definitely thought they reached on him, but he has potential and he's going to have a good development path.
Looks like future JPP replacement, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I don't know how much more they could get out of JPP. With all his history, his injury history, he had resurged his career heading over to Tampa Bay. Sad to see that. I wish we could have kept him in New York, but that's probably why they went and got Joe Tyron. What school did he come out of?
Small school, I think. I can't remember exactly where.
Yeah, I wish I could pull that up right now. I'll move on while Moody looks into what school he came from. I did like their second pick, Kyle Trask, as a good development quarterback. Washington. Was he just an edge, or did he play some stand-up linebacker?
I think he did both in Washington. I'm pretty sure he did some off-ball stuff while rushing off the edge as well.
I was a fan of Kyle Trask, so, learning from Tom Brady, that's the perfect guy to learn from for the type of play style he has. So, he fits the Bruce Arians style of quarterback, too, so I can see why they would have liked him. Did they overdraft him? No, I think they got good value out of him. I thought he could have snuck into the first round, so to get him at the end of the second, that's pretty good value, especially if he turns out to be a future starting quarterback, it'd probably be a steal. He fits the system really well, so as long as they keep the pieces around him.
Yeah, any starting quarterback that you get and he starts out of the first round, that's a steal.
Yeah. When I watched the Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney film, I liked what I saw from college draft, so I was a fan.
But do we remember the bowl game when Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney wasn't there? That was not the same Kyle Trask.
Yeah, like his top two weapons were first round picks.
So I mean, he's not going to look good without them. Still, I mean, if you go from having Kyle Pitts and 2 first round picks and play a bowl game without him, that was a bad game. That was his bad film. He's not perfect at all, and he's probably not built for this modern style, being that he's a statuesque pocket passer with a subpar arm. But that's Tom Brady. That's the Tom Brady scouting report. So I mean, maybe and he fits the mold of a Bruce Arians quarterback, minus the athleticism. So I'm surprised they didn't want that so bad. Otherwise, I mean, I like Chris Wilcox, who they drafted in the 7th. Actually, that's one of the players, one of the lower round players that they got. But their draft was meh. But I mean,
they didn't need a big draft.
Yeah, when you're picking last in every round, you're not gonna.
I will say Jalen Darden, the receiver, like the receiver they drafted. He reminds me of Tyler Johnson from last year. Bruce Arians is really going to develop.
That receiver core is gross.
And, yeah.
1 to 7, it feels like.
Because they still have Scotty Miller. Yeah, mm-hmm. Scotty Miller as their 4.
Yeah.
I think Tyler Johnson's taking over that role next year, but we'll see.
I think Scotty Miller has a connection with Tom Brady, as you saw.
Can't be denied. Or did he just beat Kevin King?
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I give them a B minus for the draft. So I mean, but their free agency period was so amazing that their offseason A++, and definitely will be a heavy favorite to repeat as champions. Even though I do think I will still say Tom Brady play has declined from the high level that it was in the 2007 and 2015 era. So
he's 40.
He's 43. He's old man. The fact that he's even still able to maintain
that he's still
any level of high production.
I'll stand on it that he's still a little overrated at this current time. He's still a really good quarterback for what he brings to the table. He's still probably the best pre-snap quarterback, and he's probably the best quarterback that plays under center in today's game, even though it's moved away from that. So I'll give him his props for that. Other than that, I guess we'll move on to New Orleans.
Yeah.
I mean,
the biggest question mark in the division, I think.
Oh, yeah. They're the wild card of the division.
They're either going to be a playoff team. They could be a playoff team, or they could be a team that's picking in the top first pick. I think they're talented. They're still talented on the offensive line.
We're talking about Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. And Taysom Hill's going to get QB snaps.
And even with Jameis 2 quarterbacks, you got no quarterback.
Even with Winston throwing 30 picks, the Bucs still went 7-9 because they still had a good team around.
That was the most talented roster in the league, though. I don't think the Saints have that anymore. That's going to be the thing. They had that $94 million above the cap that they were last year, caused them to have to gut that roster.
I will say though, but they still got both tackles. Ramczyk signed up for 5 more years. Armstead, he's got injury problems. He's like the Tyron Smith for their team. When he's playing, you got top 5 tackle production. He misses games often. You got to pencil him to miss some games. The Cesar Ruiz, who they play in that guard from last year's draft, really liked. He should make another jump. I can't think of who they have at right guard right now. But their interior guys are young, still developing, but I like them. And I like their tackles. They probably have the best tackle tandem in the league.
I would agree. They probably have the best tackle duo in the league. Not Green Bay. Cleveland probably got the other one. It used to be Baltimore, but they just gave a guy away. So
what about Tampa? Don't they have a great offensive line? I don't know if it's tackles or not.
I mean, Wills is good, but
it's actually it's not Wills.
Yeah,
Worse.
Who was my number 1 tackle?
Tristan Wirfs is good, but the guy on the other side is
Landon Smith.
Yeah, he's all right. Donovan Smith, he's all right.
Oh, Donovan.
He's all right. He's nothing special, but a complete offensive line where Brady's doing most of the heavy lifting for that to keep the ball out quick, he can be good enough.
Yeah, they did the Saint out of Saints back to the Saints. They did lose Janoris Jenkins. They had to lose Sheldon Rankins, Jared Cook, Trey Hendrickson, Alonzo the linebacker, Emmanuel Sanders, Quan Alexander, who apparently they're looking to bring back, and DJ Swearinger, who I didn't even remember.
I didn't know DJ Swearinger was on the team. He's on the league. And then can't forget Marshawn Lattimore got arrested in March, so his stats are still up in the air.
But kept Jameis and Taysom Hill, Nick Van Nett, who I like as a tight end, and unfortunately they did lose. Who's the coach up in Detroit right now?
Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell was their tight end's assistant head coach. He was actually a really good assistant for them, and he was helping them get the most out of their run blocking schemes with tight end blocking. So, I mean, that could hurt them, but Van Nett, PJ Williams back again, and they went and got another fullback. So I guess, they like to run the ball, and they've got the best running back duo probably other than the guys in Cleveland behind with Kamara and Latavius Murray. That's really good. So they're going to be able to run the ball. And, I mean, what do you think about their free agency?
They couldn't have done a lot. Like, they were in a position where they went all in the last 4 years trying to win a Super Bowl. They got as close as you could possibly get without ever getting there, but at the end of the day, they didn't deliver, and now they're paying for they're paying for all that moving money back with having to gut most of their roster from the guys who were heavily talented. Like, you still got Cam Jordan and old ass DeMario Davis and those type of guys, but
hey, DeMario Davis is still kicking, and he's playing better than he has ever played.
The fall off's got to come at some point, though. But at the end of the day, New Orleans still probably has a more talented roster than the legit bad teams in the league. But with the quarterback questions, I have a hard time trusting New Orleans to be a playoff team this year. I expect them to be chilling in the top 15 in the draft, that's for sure.
And I don't think they will be a playoff team, but the NFC is weak, so the Bears were a playoff team.
And they have arguably the best coach in the NFC.
And that's what I give them the benefit of the doubt. Sean Payton, without Drew Brees in the last 2 years, they went 9-1.
Yeah, I think Seattle's the only
5-0.
team that beat them.
5-0 with Teddy Bridgewater in his 2 years ago, and then 4-1 last year with Taysom Hill. I mean,
that'll get it done.
Yeah, that was with a different roster, though.
I mean, they lost. They had some losses, but the offensive line still
Michael
there.
Thomas is past his prime with all these injuries.
Yeah, the Michael Thomas injury will set him back, and their defensive tackle that I can never pronounce.
David Onyemata.
He will be suspended for 4 or 5 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a mess.
And they're playing. If you look at their schedule, they're starting with the Green Bay, the Tennessee.
Yeah, they have a first place schedule this year.
Yeah, they won the division, even though that doesn't mean anything for them.
For free agency, I gave them a B-. They did what they could do. I mean, they have positive $10 million in cap space, which when we started this, they were almost at a negative 100 at the start of the offseason. So I'll give them their props for that. And draft-wise, I didn't like their draft either. That might be the bigger
They haven't had good drafts the past
few years. The Kamara draft
is the 17 draft where they got all their guys. That's how they got the core of their team and turned the whole team around. Is from that draft class.
That Davenport draft was brutal.
Because that set him back the next year because they gave up a pick for Davenport.
Yeah, they traded up for him.
He's on a contract year. He's going to need to be big for them. I mean, he has talent. He's a viable player in this league. I mean, I like him.
But for the assets they gave up to get him.
Yeah, he's not the quality of, let's trade up in the first round and get this guy.
Yeah, he hasn't maxed. Maybe he hasn't just hit. He's still only a third-year play. He's going into his 4th year. Did they pick up his option?
I'm not sure. I haven't kept up with that. But, I guess he has to be a full-time starter now. They lost Trey Hendrickson in free agency, so he's going to be on the opposite side of Cam Jordan. He's going to have a lot of responsibility and taking advantage of those one-on-one matchups. So it's not like he's in a bad situation. He's got a talented D-line around him. He's going to get a lot of one-on-one looks. He should have a chance to be productive and prove himself this year. That's for sure.
And draft-wise, I mean, they went with Peyton Turner.
Another small school guy that
I'll go. He's the same as Joe Tyron. Guy that's got potential, but probably got edge rushers at the back end of the first round tend to be where people start throwing darts at the wall.
He was one of those late risers.
Yeah. So I mean, I didn't love him as a first round pick, but position value wise, if he hits, they need to replace Trey Hendrickson. that needed the position. So I understand. Drafted for needs never great, but I understand the value. Pete Warner from Ohio State.
Love that pick.
You love that pick?
Yeah, I was a big fan of Pete Warner coming out of Ohio State. I think he was arguably the best IQ linebacker coming out of the draft. The athleticism isn't going to be there, but he plays linebacker. At the end of the day, you're right there in the middle of the action. You don't need to be that special of an athlete to be productive at the position, especially if you know what's coming before the snap happens. So I like Pete Warner a lot.
I like the Paulson Adebo pick. Especially to get him in the 3rd round.
Extremely underrated. He would have been like a 1st round pick if he had came out the year before.
And he was an opt-out, so maybe the opt-outs hurt. I actually was a fan of Ian Book's game. I'm not saying he was the prototype quarterback, but he fits a Drew Brees type of player. So, I mean, if they saw it in him to take him in the 4th round, was he the first day 3 quarterbacks? He was the first day 3 quarterback?
Yeah, because Davis Mills went in the 3rd.
Yeah.
Who, my man's?
Yeah, Mr. Book. Tell us about Ian Book, Eric. Tell us what we can expect from him at the NFL level.
I don't think he's an NFL guy for sure. I mean, he definitely falls into like a Drew Brees. He's way more athletic than Drew Brees. Like he can actually get out of the pocket and at least move. I don't know if
Drew used to be able to.
Drew Brees in his prime before he became a strict pocket passer was a good athlete.
And I don't know if his speed he doesn't have great speed. I think he's going to get caught up in the NFL, but I don't think he'll get his chance in New Orleans. Like he'll be there.
I like him as a Case Keenum type of quarterback in the right place with the right pieces and the right system. You could get a winning season out of him.
I mean, if there's one place for him to go, it's New Orleans with Sean Payton. I mean, he can't really have a better environment.
Like Kyle Trask is another guy with a nice, talented roster and a good offensive coach around him that he's in a better position to develop than most quarterbacks taken before.
Other than that, I mean, solid B- for free agency. I give their draft a C+. I wasn't a fan of the 2017 draft, and it turned out to be a draft that turned their franchise around. So I mean, this is all pre-draft bias that we're using to determine this. So these guys could all turn into the next Marshawn Lattimore, Alvin Kamara, who everybody shitted on.
Don't forget Marcus Williams, the safety too.
So people didn't love their draft then, and that turned the franchise around to make that last run with Drew Brees that they tried. So I didn't love the draft, but I give this organization the benefit of the doubt on knowing what they're doing. So.
Absolutely.
I mean, expectations. What do we think about New Orleans' prospects this year? I personally think they are a 500 team.
Yeah, I think
500 is not a thing anymore. So we'll say 6 to 9 wins.
Yeah.
I mean, so Tampa Bay wise, so does anybody buy into the undefeated hype?
No.
Especially with the extra game. No.
Yeah.
So
I'll just get Bayless.
I'll pull up some what their over-under odds are, but
it's got to be like 11 and a half.
11 and a half. I think that sounds
no, that's not that high. I mean, Tom Brady wins a minimum of 11 games every year, so I don't think that's that out of the realm of possibility.
Let's see what we got here. Future bets. Okay. So we're looking at
this will be a nice chunk to edit out.
Yep.
New Orleans right now they're set at 9 wins. So
yeah,
under.
Yeah, I'm going
under.
Yeah, probably under.
First place schedule too. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers back in Green Bay. Yeah, I'm taking the under on that.
I might actually bet that.
Tampa Bay is set at 11 and a half. So
I'm so good, bro. I am so good.
Or do you have a problem?
Don't talk about that.
I'm gonna put in my prediction bets as we go through these teams. So I'll go over for Tampa Bay 11.
Yeah, we'll probably have a whole pod of over unders and season stuff for odds and everything. So
all right, but New Orleans, we also got we're going under for the 9.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so I guess now we can move on to Carolina, who finished third in the division.
Oh, did we?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So Carolina, I would give their offseason I'd give the draft probably a B plus. Their first round pick, J.C. Horn. I wish Penei Sewell fell one more pick. But J.C. Horn, I was very happy with that pick. Secondary help is what we really need. With us obviously picking up A.J. Boye. I don't know if he's suspended for the beginning of the season, but we'll find that out. With J.C. Horn and Jeremy Chin leading the secondary, we're very young this year. I think we're the one of the youngest teams, if not the youngest team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Trading for Sam Darnold, we didn't give up a lot, and it's not a long-term commitment, so it's really low risk, high reward in that trade. Wish we stayed patient and traded for Deshaun, but we're moving on from that.
There's still time. Like you said, you're not committed to Sam Darnold long term. And I don't think Deshaun Watson is getting traded this offseason. I think he'll be traded next offseason. So
he was in camp looking depressed today.
Going back into the draft, the only frustrating part for me, and obviously I have Notre Dame bias in me, but at one point we had 3 picks in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
And we used one of them on Terrence Marshall. Do what?
Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah, we could have snagged Liam Eichenberg in the top of the second round, but we traded down. And offensive line is what we need help with. We just extended Taylor Motton, which is a good pickup or extension.
I liked him a lot. He was also in that 17 class with all those New Orleans guys. I like Motton a lot.
So I'll ask the question though. I actually thought the best tackle was Rashad Slater in the draft. Would you have preferred Slater as opposed to J.C. Horn? Because I think Slater in LAC is just – I don't know how he fell all the way there, but the things broke right for LAC.
I mean, yeah, I would have been happy with offensive line or secondary. I think we had to address one of those. So I was going to be happy with one of the top corners. I think I would have preferred Patrick Surtain over JC just because of his technician and Alabama guys work in the NFL.
Not corners, actually. Not the corners.
They've gotten better, but
Marlon Humphreys was the first.
I don't care. Patrick Surtain has been going up against all those wide receivers all this at Alabama. So
what I like about Surtain was the bloodlines. His dad he's been groomed to play corner.
J.C. Horn's dad played professionally.
But he played offense. Yeah,
but that means he knew he went against a receiver his whole life. So, I mean, I like J.C. Horn. The thing I liked about J.C., I think he's a little too happy.
Yeah, I like his physicality, but it's overbearing sometimes.
But now, let me tell you what y'all should have done is drafted Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest issue that I have with your guys' draft is that y'all stood there and thought,
well,
we're good with Sam Darnold.
They traded for him, so once they traded for him.
So you just good? You just set on the guy who's never shown he's a good NFL quarterback? That's what we selling on? I think
they didn't trade for him without liking him. So
I think the teams picking 7 through 12 probably missed on a chance to draft a quarterback. If I had to go back through them and see exactly what the order was, but yeah, those teams in that area, I think missed an opportunity.
7 was the Lions. We were 8. Denver was 9. Y'all were 10. I think.
Yeah. Then the Giants and Eagles at 11 and 12. I think all those teams except for the Cowboys probably could have been taking quarterbacks. They probably should have been at least thinking about it. Chicago got an absolute steal in my opinion, but that's for a different episode.
Being that the Giants made the trade to let that happen. I'm okay with it. Him falling was the best thing that could have made our draft season even better. But we digress.
So what about Carolina's free agency?
It was all right. There was nothing really to write home about with their pickups. Let's see, who did they pick up? That's May. Oh yeah, they just picked up a lot of depth pretty much in the offseason. Signed 4 linebackers. Let's see, who are they? Oh, I thought that said D'Angelo Hall, and I was like, what? But yeah, I don't think they went out there and had a A+ offseason, A+ free agency, because obviously Carolina is not a free agency destination that you're gonna have to overpay for a premium guy to come to Carolina. But yeah, I mean, nothing big really. But with the draft, they picked up Tommy Tremble in the 3rd round. Obviously, I love the man. I love the man because of Notre Dame. I love his intensity, his tenacity. he will go after the biggest man and try to block him on the field. Like, he is not scared of nobody. His catching is probably his weakest point. I've seen him drop a few balls, and but yeah, he was just that second tight end to Mike Mayer, who will be a first-round pick in 2 years.
I'm surprised you haven't brought up my favorite pick of all year draft.
Shy Smith.
The guy I had in my receiver 5, Terrence Marshall Jr., who fell due to.
I brought him up. I thought I did. But yeah, I think he's a bigger receiver we need. We got speed with DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. Shy Smith was even a great pickup late in the draft. He's got a lot of speed. So we got a lot of speedsters. So we needed size, and I think that was a really good pickup.
He's not just big, though. He's fast as hell. Terrence Marshall is a ridiculous athlete and Joe Brady's guy, so that makes the pick even better. Matt Rule's, I like what Matt Rule's doing for y'all.
Yeah, so yeah, Matt, and what's his first name? Brady. What's his first name?
Joe Brady.
Joe Brady. He also knew Terrence from LSU, where he was in the same wide receiver room as Justin Jefferson and their national title. So he was able to pick a great up-and-coming wide receiver's brains when he was younger. We addressed the offensive line with BYU's Brady Christensen. He's just big.
He's more of a developmental guy, but I like him.
I wish we got him later in the draft, but we had 3 picks in the first round where we could have gone Liam Eichenberg, and we were on the clock and we could have gotten JOK, but we traded out of it to the Browns, who took JOK. And that was literally so painful for me to watch on the bus on the way home from an away series. It was brutal. But yeah, I would probably give Carolina's draft probably a B+, A-, honestly. I really liked it. They addressed some needs that they had to answer. With Tampa Bay in this division, with all of their weapons, like you needed to address the secondary, because you can't walk out there with nobodies against Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Gronk, and all those guys. You had to answer it.
So I got that pulled up here. The over-under for Carolina is currently 7.5. And I couldn't help but hammer you.
How many games they won last year?
4 or 5.
As they had to be more than 4. The Falcons won 4, and they were picking 3rd over 4th overall.
Yeah, because they actually started.
They had a good start. They were like,
we started the year 3-3, I think. And there were a lot of close games that we lost. Like the Minnesota game last year, literally took years off my life. To watch Kirk Cousins actually do something late was very painful for me.
All right, then finally, we'll move on to the tragedy in Atlanta.
The Panthers were 5-11 last year, by the way. 5-11. All right, Atlanta. I don't like what Atlanta did this offseason, to be totally honest with you. They are a team that seems to be caught between wanting to try to win a Super Bowl while also recognizing that their team probably isn't good enough to win one. So in my opinion, they should have blown it up. But they decided they want to try to compete with a 37-year-old quarterback who just went 4-12.
He's 37?
Yeah. Matty Ice has been around for a while. For their draft, I gave him a B. Kyle Pitts was probably the best non-QB in the draft, but they should have been taking a quarterback.
Justin Fields is the hometown kid. The fact that they didn't take him.
Yeah, he's literally native of Georgia. I think it was literally built perfect.
It was right there.
According to the rumors, though, is they only wanted Trey Lance, and that was the only quarterback they were willing to take.
Hey, just because that was their process doesn't mean it was the correct process.
Absolutely.
You identify a guy, and I'm always stronger with a team that identifies their guy than we like this guy, and this guy, because that's never true. But Justin Fields was good enough prospect that I thought that if they loved Trey Lance, even though I had Trey Lance ranked a little bit higher than Justin Fields, I thought Justin Fields would have fit perfectly.
And the fit, because they just hired Arthur Smith this year in the offseason, and he wants to run his wide zone, his bootlegs, his stuff to get his quarterbacks on the move. Justin Fields would have fit that perfectly.
I will say he took at Ohio State, he was in a shotgun heavy offense, so maybe that scared him away because that stretch zone offense, you got to do it from under center. So I could see maybe that's why. I thought they could have trained him up and ran the run more RPOs and stuff like that. But if that's the Shanahan offense, that's what it's built off of, under center, wide zone.
So what's so negative about just being out of the shotgun? Because isn't most of your offense out of the shotgun?
Not Arthur Smith. He likes to run his stuff under the center, and because he's big on play action. So back to the defense type of rollout type of stuff. Arthur Smith's really big on that.
So yeah, some of these guys are system. They're like about their system. I thought Fields was a good enough prospect that I thought he was raw, but you could have set him on ice and teach him that system is what I thought. So I think they will regret in the end passing on Justin Fields the most.
But outside of Kyle Pitts is still going to be a good player. Let's not debate that. But I think it would have been better to have Kyle Pitts with Julio Jones. But since they couldn't possibly keep both, they probably should have been getting rid of the quarterback. But that's besides. But the rest of their draft outside of Kyle Pitts, I thought was really, really good. I love Richie Grant from Central Florida. He was my number one free safety in the draft, even though he's a little small. He makes lots of plays on the ball. He's really, really smart. They lost 3 safeties in the offseason this year. So, yeah, in the worst secondary in the league last year. So,
Cowboys picked one of them up.
No.
Yes.
They picked two of them up.
Oh,
I'll pause, though, and say I had Kyle Pitts as a receiver on my board. Mm-hmm. So, I'm interested to see if they're trying to make him an inline tight end, like Jonnu Smith.
Make him a blocker?
Like Jonnu Smith in that same system last year.
They'll be able to run a good 2 tight end set with Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts.
Hayden Hurst, who I like, hasn't really developed into anything big. He had a good year in Baltimore. They shipped him out of town. I got to see how to use Kyle Pitts. If they're going to use him like a Julio Jones, I thought he was a receiver. His best film is him on the outside doing receiver stuff. So I thought he was a receiver, but he was the best offensive weapon. Maybe I like Jamar Chase a lot, but you could argue that. But Kyle Pitts was something different. I just hope they don't waste him as a inline tight end.
Yeah, that's always the word you gotta have. Continuing with the Falcons draft, I loved the Jalen Mayfield pick from Michigan. Atlanta seems to be obsessed with trying to keep their offensive line with draft picks, and I thought this was a guy who they got great value from. I gave that pick an A+. I think he's a guy who will be a starting tackle in this league for a long time once he really gets his feet under him and develops. And then later in the draft, Darren Hall, the corner from San Diego State. I think he fell because of some injury issues, but he seems like a dude who could be a solid 3rd, 4th corner on a team that's desperate for more talent in the secondary as a whole. But overall, I give the Falcons draft a B. It was okay. I thought they were things that they could have, like, a smarter franchise would have leaned in a different direction, but they are just caught up in no man's land right now. As far as their free agency offseason, they hired OC Dave Ragone from Chicago. He was the QB coach of Chicago as their offensive coordinator. And they hired the Tennessee Titans defensive coordinator, Dean Pease, from the last couple of years. I think he sat out a year, and now he's back coaching them up. I don't really they're not really trying to develop a quarterback, so I'm not going to hate too hard on their offensive coordinator quarterback decisions. They're going to hope that Matt Ryan is still able to just run an entire new scheme that doesn't really fit his strengths, but we'll see.
Actually, that's the scheme.
5 years ago.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. Yeah, if you're asking for 31, 32-year-old Matt Ryan, that's a totally different thing. I will say
Matt Ryan, although he wasn't, I think he's declining. His stats he put up and the production he put up, he was still in that. Now he's not top 10 anymore easily.
I'm sure the Falcons looked at their quarterback room and said, all right, do we want to trade away Matt Ryan and let A.J. McCarron start our team?
Or Justin Fields. But
ouch. Okay. I mean, yeah, but yeah, but if you're trading away Julio, you probably should have take Kyle Pitts so you replace that weapon.
Yeah, I mean,
and I will say Calvin Ridley. Everybody's saying he's the next it thing. I just think he's another Amari Cooper type of receiver. Good. Is he going to be a dominant, move the needle number one? It'll be left to be said. I love his route running. His game doesn't have that dominant in it that I think it's necessary to be an alpha one.
So they replaced Julio with Kyle Pitts on the team with 4-12 last year. Do we expect him to be better than 4-12?
Julio missed a lot of games.
Julio always missed a lot of games. That's all.
If I was a betting man,
over under is 7 games.
Under.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I was saying like 5-6 wins.
Yeah. They didn't even have any money to do anything in the offseason because they were so cap strapped. They added the backup running back from Carolina, Mike Davis. And like the key to the Atlanta Falcons, the Arthur Smith offense is being able to run the ball at a dominant level. And I just don't see how the Falcons do that this year. Their best back is probably Mike Davis. Todd Gurley is
Good
still
year
a
last
free
year
agent.
for Mike Davis.
He did have a good year last year.
Is Todd Gurley still in Atlanta? I thought he was a free agent.
Todd Gurley's not in Atlanta.
No, Todd Gurley is a free agent. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Their second string running back right now is Cardell Patterson.
Yeah, it's not great. And Arthur Smith likes to run the ball between the tackles. He is not a guy who wants to get the ball to the edge or run it in space and stuff like that. He wants to slam that big guy up in the middle and just try to get boom.
It's kind of the middle.
It's between the tackles is what I'm trying to say. He likes to run between the tackles. They did add Cordell Patterson, who I like. Not as a offensive player or whatever, but he's the greatest kick returner of all time. Cordell Patterson, he has the highest kick return average and the most kick return touchdowns in the history of the NFL. Cordell Patterson is the best kick returner of all time.
Kick returner.
Kick returner. I didn't say returner. I said kick returner.
But I'm sorry, I saw Devin Hester return a kick return in the Super Bowl.
You did.
He's the best kick returner we've ever seen.
He's the best returner we've ever seen.
Deshaun Jackson's up there too.
Another returner.
He's a punt returner.
He's a punt returner, not a kick returner.
And also, Tyreek Hill as a kick returner was bad. No, let's stop. I'm not gonna let you get away with that, Cap. Cordell Patterson is not a better kick returner.
If you have the highest kick return average of all time, if you have the most kick return touchdowns of all time, now how are you not the greatest kick returner of all time? No one has also ever done it as well as Cordell Patterson has.
Because he's not Devin Hester.
I think we can't get caught up. Devin Hester's the greatest returner of all time. He's definitely the greatest punt returner of all time. This kick returning, he's not better than.
How can he be the greatest returner of all time, but not the greatest kick returner?
Because Devin Hester was a great kick returner too. He just wasn't as good a kick returner as Cordell Patterson.
We're getting off topic. Back to Atlanta.
Atlanta. They also lost Alex Mack this year on that offensive line. Alex Mack was really the piece that turned their entire franchise around, honestly. When Alex Mack rolled up in Atlanta, they were all of a sudden a Super Bowl team. He was declining, but that's going to be a veteran presence that they have not replaced yet. And they lost all three of their safeties despite them not being very good in DeMonte Casey, Ricardo Allen, and Keanu Neal. They lost all three of their rotational safeties last year, so that's going to be a lot to replace. Overall, I give Atlanta's offseason plus the draft a C+. They were in cap hell, and they had a whole regime change, coaching change. So I think they did the best they could, which is why I'm going to generously give them a C+. But they were a 4-12 team last year. I don't expect them to be a whole lot better this year. That's my take on the Atlanta Falcons. I'm hitting the under on the 5 wins.
It's 7.5.
It's 7.5. I'm hitting the under on 7.5.
We're making money with these overs.
Yeah, I'm hitting the under on 7.5. I don't expect a lot of things out of Atlanta.
Yeah, man. I just think this defense is just brutal, man. It's so bad.
They couldn't. They not only was it bad, they couldn't replace it, and then they said, "All right, we're gonna add a tight end with the top 5 pick."
Who was the Atlanta guy who sacked Dak 6 times?
Catering Claiborne.
Okay. I don't know why I thought it was Grady Jarrett for a second. I was like,
nah, Grady Jarrett's still a good player.
They have him.
He's another guy who should have been selling off
too.
Yeah, if he's next to Aaron Donald, Dante Fowler can play. But
and AJ Terrell from Clemson, right?
I like AJ Terrell.
He looks like he'll be a good player for them. That's a solid piece. I don't know if he's a cornerback 1, but he definitely looks like a solid piece in that secondary. But they have such a long way to go in that defense. Without a lot of young prospects really there to give them like a big boost, and they look like a team that's trying to compete. I don't really know what they expect. They're going to try to win games, which is why they might try to push to 7, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I definitely believe that they will be picking in the top 5, and they'll be picking their next quarterback next year. So
Sam Howell or Rattler?
When you take the quarterback a year too late, you pay for it. Ask me your
guys. Because the quarterback class this year was amazing, and early watches from next year. I don't like the quarterback class next year as much as I like the one.
Sam Howell looks like Mitchell Trubisky to me, but we'll talk about that later.
And Rattler, I don't think. Yeah.
I think Rattler's pretty overrated too. I just don't like the quarterback.
But overall, for the NFC South,
so I'm gonna chat with the storyline. So in Tampa Bay, we got running back season. In Carolina, we got Sam the Man. In Atlanta, we got Rise Down. And
filthy birds, disgusting,
dirty birds.
And in New Orleans, we got Jameis versus Taysom.
So if y'all had to pick the division order right now, who would y'all go with? Eric, you go ahead first.
I'm going Tampa, Carolina, New Orleans, Atlanta.
Isaiah?
Tampa. New Orleans, Carolina, Atlanta. It's that simple.
Yeah, I'm probably Tampa, New Orleans, Carolina, Atlanta, but New Orleans and Carolina are a coin flip to me. They're both talented, other outside roster with bad quarterback.
I can see both of those teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, I can see it's 17. The Panthers and the Saints. There's 17 to get in this year. So unless the NFC West puts in everybody, I could. There's a team that can. There's another division that could possibly get another team.
I mean, this season for the Panthers is either. It's probably going to be a lot of growing pains. It's going to be frustrating.
It's more development for you guys, that's for sure. Unless Sam Darnold shows us something that we aren't expecting, I think it's going to be another year of development, but good development.
If those defenders,
hopefully we knock all the jet off him.
If the defenders the young defenders you guys got, make the jump, I can see that defense being a top 10 defense.
We got Burns, I like. They got Dante Jackson, Gito Gross-Matos. I'm a big fan of
the defensive tackle that they took in the highest year after.
Derek Brown. Derek Brown's a stud. And Dante Jackson and JC Horn, that's a real, and Jeremy Chin, that's an athletic as hell secondary. They're young. They're probably going to be a little undisciplined, but the athleticism is unreal, and you guys will definitely have a chance when they develop to be a good secondary back there.
But, yeah, it's Tampa, and, of course, Tom Brady shows up, and all of a sudden the division's in shambles all of a sudden.
It's how, the GOAT effect. You can never deny the GOAT effect.
Yeah.
But if that's it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Catch y'all later.